What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this, I want to talk about what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and a couple of other tickers. I also want to break down what's happening with the market moving forward and how things are looking, my personal opinion. But let me first mention that I am not a financial planner. Make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Weeble and deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. And the offer ends very soon in just one day. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with this market. So I just wanted to mention that looking at SPY, I mentioned earlier that we saw this nice pump that was coming all the way up to this 547 resistance. And in order for us to remain bullish, we had to hold above 547. We had to hold that resistance, and we also had to see this close above that level. So what happened was we touched this level only to get this big rejection, and this was a fake pump. So this was like a fake out, and you guys can see that the bears still are the ones who had a bigger edge. So now we're going to be watching 543 as our support. That's the low from last Friday. So if we end up losing this support, if we end up losing 543, I'll be expecting this to dip all the way down closer to about 540, and then even lower levels than that potentially. But there is likely going to be more downside coming looking at this trend. I think there's a good chance that we will eventually lose 543 and start dipping to 540. And eventually, that gap fill at 537. But even if that does end up happening, we have to be a little bit careful because once again, there are sometimes fake pumps that happen. That was the epitome of what ended up happening today. So looking at the 4 hour time frame, the 4 hour is looking pretty weak right now. So this looks to me like there's a good chance we're going to continue to fall. The 4 hour 50 EMA is currently at this 540 area. There's a very good chance we're going to be dipping all the way down there. We have to watch 543 for confirmation. If we end up losing that support, and I think there's a good chance we will test that eventually. But for now, we are slowly losing momentum and we're slowly continuing to fall. So I do anticipate more downside. Now for Nvidia has taken a big hit right over here. You guys can see Nvidia has been dipping quite a bit, losing its 50 EMA. And we happen to have this gap, this very nice gap down to about this 110 area. So I anticipate it's going to be dipping all the way down towards about this resistance, which happens to be at 116. I think we're going to likely be dipping all the way down there, then fill this gap down here. So there's a very good chance we're going to be dipping lower. And then on top of this, we also have Bitcoin. Bitcoin is also continuing to dip down to the 60,000 area. I think there's a good chance it's going to continue to fall right over there to that support. Now, if we lose 60,000, we'll be dipping all the way down towards excuse me, 58,000 as well. I think there's a good chance it's going to be dipping all the way down to the 58,000 zone. I anticipate more downside for Bitcoin, as I've been saying for these last couple of days, and the trend still looks very bearish. So I'll be looking for this dip all the way down. So anticipate more downside potential for Bitcoin. For the QQQ, this is looking kind of weak to me, especially on the 4 hour time frame. We actually reached my target from the morning. I said 474 is coming. I mentioned that in the early morning. That's what's happened so far. We'll be watching to see how we end up holding. So look for a test of 474.18. Let's see if it could hold that or not. If we lose this, there'll be an even bigger drop coming. And that wouldn't be a surprise to me considering the fact that on the daily time frame, we still have this big gap to fill down here at 468. So the QQQ could have even more downside than SPY. There is a risk of that. So watch for that very carefully. On top of all of this, I just wanted to mention that Aapl, it's trading flat right now, but we called out this support. I think I was looking at the 4 hour time frame. You guys could see this 206 level is exactly where it ended up going to, the level that I called out yesterday. We rebounded to 210. Now we're coming back down. So this might continue to fall towards 206 again. It is showing some weakness. Look for a little bit more of a dip on Aapl. And I think we have to be careful, at least with this trend looking a little bit more bearish. Then we have Tesla. Tesla pumped to 188. We called 188 if it broke 185. We actually called these levels. And upon breaking past 185, we went up to 188, rejected. I also called out a potential rejection because of how SPY when the market was looking. And we ended up returning back down to 183. So now we're just shuffling here on Tesla. We're going to likely continue to do so. Not really expecting anything too crazy or much from that. But just know that Tesla's shuffling within the range between 183 and 185. Supermicro, on the other hand, is looking more bearish. I think this could easily dip towards 800. There's a good chance it's going to be falling all the way down there. For others out there, we have Coinbase. Coinbase is on a bit of a downtrend right over here. We have a double top leg structure and we could continue to fall. So I wouldn't be surprised if we continue. And I think that there's a good chance we'll be looking at 203. So I think Coinbase is going to continue to fall. Amazon pumped all the way up to 190 to 192. I called that out as well, and that rejected. So now we're going to be looking for 184.7. If that fails us, 182 is coming. There's a good chance that Amazon's going to dip lower. For Meta, we pumped all the way up to about 508, only to reject. We came down to fill the gap as we predicted. Now we're going to be looking at 494. If we don't hold that, we'll be dipping all the way down to 490. If we do hold this, look for a retest of 496. Otherwise, it does look more bearish to me. For just a few more, Microsoft looks a little bit more like it's trying to top at the 450 area. Watch for a test of 446 and see if we bounce or not, but I do see a little dip coming. For Google, it's the same thing. I do see this potentially dipping down to 179, so look for a little bit more downside. That is very probable. Not to mention GameStop kind of shuffling between 22.7 and about 25. We're kind of stuck within this range, and there's a chance we could be dipping lower. So it looks a little bit weaker on GameStop. Same thing on AMC. AMC is also on a bit of a downtrend right here. I think we're going to likely fill this gap. So 4.3 is likely coming. So I still anticipate more downside. So just be very patient. Anyways, guys, the market's selling off quite a bit. Thank you all so much for listening. Be prepared for more potential downside. Make sure you watch that 543 level. It's going to be key for SPY. And we'll see how things go from here. But I appreciate every single one of you. Please have a great day. Excuse me. And peace out.